Friends you were playing?
I do like me some lunatic fringe. Yeah,
I think that's what that was, wasn't it?
yeah, I think it was too. We have a lot of Eagles, a lot of Tom Petty, and occasionally some lunatic fringe. Yes.
Yeah, it's hard to beat that group. I thought that was Lunatic Friends. I saw that on I watched that the other day on the TV. So what's going on?
Oh, not much. I tell you what, I've collected. This is probably not going to be your standard. I've collected some questions from some of the audience and some of the things I wanted to get into. It's not going to be a traditional spring football debrief. Although, if you want to talk any spring football, you can pop into that anytime you want. I love some of your draft stories. In fact, it came up the other day when Bill Haston was at practice. We were talking about, you know, Chris Carson and the fact you're out eating. You get the call from Pete Carroll, which is one of my favorite stories, asking about drafting about Chris. But you said you're going to watch the draft with your kids. How often do you get phone calls during the draft from NFL people that want to get a last opinion from you?
More on middle to late round picks. Joe Randall, Chris Carson. Uh, let's see, not Emmanuel, Vincent. Let's see. I quite a few people that are not. I shouldn't say quite a few. A couple people called on Taylor Cornelius. Obviously, they just decided not to go that direction. But more on your picks that are going to be rounds 4 through 7 than the early round guys.
Well, and that might bode well for somebody like we were. I was talking, I think it was with Tom Dorado the other day, and Tom was like me, a big fan of Dylan Stoner. Here's a guy that doesn't show up on any lists. Every time he's been asked to fill in and move outside, and when Tylen's been hurt, he's come up with big efforts, returns punts, blocks people. I mean, Dylan Stoner is just one of those guys. He's a push button. He'll do whatever you ask him to, no questions.
And he could play on 3 of 4 special teams, maybe 4 of 4. Could play inside or out. He runs 4.5. He's 205 pounds. Got a lot of reps. Got good hands. He's tough. He's intelligent. Got a lot of savvy to the game. So I'll be surprised a year from now if Stoner hasn't made an NFL roster.
Yeah, I kind of fibbed. One thing I am going to ask about spring football. You said this on Saturday. You've said it a couple of times. I think you said it to Bill Haston when you talked to him, and his stuff on Sunday in the World was awesome. Um,
I
I
didn't
think
see
Bill
that
Haston
article.
maybe is good at.
Did Bill do me any justice or?
No, he did you good, and we'll kind of rehash a couple of things because I'm not so sure Bill Haston didn't. I'd like to think I am, but I think Bill Haston's about as good at interviewing Mike Gundy as anybody out there. Um, but why was this the best spring ever in your time as a head coach? Why do you say that?
Well, 2 reasons. The first is because we have a roster of 115 players, which was only whittled down to 110 going into the spring game instead of 90. That allowed us to have full practices throughout spring for 1s, 2s, and 3s, which are the new guys and the younger guys. They got the same amount of work as the 1s and 2s. There is no substitute for repetition and experience, and that's what those guys were able to get in spring ball. 2, because of what everybody went through over the last 12 months, to get back out there, get our players back in a rhythm where we fall back in line with accountability, structure, and discipline. And then the players' overall attitude has been tremendous because they had to somewhat buy back into our system, which became very relaxed based on COVID. That system has provided us with 16 years of success here in football at a very, very high level. And it also has provided us with 16 years of tremendous success academically. We had to reteach. We had to relearn, coaches and players. We reprogrammed as spring moved forward, and we finished up with winter conditioning, got our routine at about the second or third practice or so in the spring, stayed healthy, finished up. We're back on track now. We're where we were before COVID. So that's exciting for me as a head coach, because those are the things that I'm most concerned about, is this organization being top-notch in all categories and then competing on a high level in football.
I'm going to go right to you. You mentioned COVID, so this is maybe the perfect place to address this. Bill Haston wrote that it had not gotten out. He was the first one to report it. Yeah, I was aware you weren't at the practices preparing for the bowl game. In fact, got cleared just before the team left for Orlando. You were able to see them all on video, and you were able to meet virtually with the staff, and so you were involved in the planning for the game with Miami, but you weren't boots on site because of COVID. And Bill reported that. And here's the amazing thing to me out of that: not that the team went to Orlando and beat Miami, and the head coach was not physically at practice for most of the preparation. The thing that amazes me in this day and time with social media and people's loose lips, you had said something to the team. I don't know what it was, but hey, let's don't let this out of the family. I think you wanted to protect your family, and it gets out last Sunday. No one knew. No one. I mean, an entire operation of players, coaches, support staff kept something that you asked them to keep quiet for 4 months. I mean, that kind of, in this day and age, that's a lot of trust in an operation and an organization, and kind of blows me away.
The reason for it was I didn't want the story about me having COVID to be bigger than the team getting ready to go play in a bowl game. So the only way to avoid that was to have them prepare and me not be involved with that preparation. And let's do everything we can to enjoy the time we're together in the bowl, enjoy our preparation, get ready to play a really good football team, and find a way to win a game, without the story being about Coach Gundy having COVID. So I was pleased and proud of them for doing a good job with that, not only the players, but there's a lot of staff involved. And then secondly, this is a well-oiled machine, and we are not micromanagers in our organization. Everybody has a job. Everybody has a role to play, and we all understand that. And so I can meet with the staff in the morning and then leave, and by the end of the day, we get accomplished what we want to get accomplished because of 16 years of being together and doing it. And the majority of the guys that are in this organization, administratively and from a coaching standpoint, have been with me a long time. So everybody knows what is acceptable and not acceptable based on preparation and practice and the way we function on a daily basis. So people can take that however they want, but it is what it is. When you've done something for a long time and you have people in place that you trust, then I'm able to not be around for a week, and we can still prepare, practice, and get ready to play and play at a very high level in a bowl game, just based on the structure that we have in this organization.
Well, and I'm going to address another area. I know you cannot comment on any of the young men, but your 2022 recruiting class has 10 commitments in it. There were a bunch of those kids that were in the stands Saturday, and I know all your staff could do was wink and wave at them because of the NCAA moratorium on in-person recruiting. That'll be lifted after the month of May. But I was going to ask you, you got another one on Saturday, actually, on the day of the spring game. That class is ranked in the just outside the top 10. I think it's 11th in the latest rankings. And I know that you're really proud of the hire you made when you brought in Todd Bradford to oversee this, and the guys that are working on that recruiting prospect analyst group. Um, this is, in my memory, and I've covered recruiting a long time, this is as far ahead in quality and quantity as you've ever had a recruiting class at this point in the timetable. So I know that's got to make you feel pretty good about the way that part of the operation's running.
Yes, we've got a lot of faith in what Todd's bringing to the table. He was a former coach recently that was on the road, so he understands both sides of it. The area that has helped us in recruiting more than any is we've made a commitment financially to reinforce our recruiting from a personnel standpoint. And moving forward, when we get out of COVID financial restrictions, which will be July 1 to start the new fiscal year, I feel like with our new administration that we're going to invest more money in recruiting. The money that's invested in recruiting is similar to money that's invested in companies through marketing and advertising. If you want to maximize the recruiting at your particular school, you have to invest a lot of money in it. And that money comes through manpower, that money comes through upgrading facilities, that money comes from different areas that give us the best chance to get the most qualified young men both in the classroom and on the football field and socially that fit the culture here in Stillwater to give us the best chance to keep them here, because we develop players. That's what we do, right? We bring them in, and Rob Glass gets them in line, and then we teach them and coach them and train them and give them reps and take care of them, and then they get better and better as they progress. So the investment that we've made financially to keep us above water during COVID with the restrictions, and then the bigger financial investment that we will make in recruiting in July will give us the best chance to bring the people and the players in here that give us a chance to have success in the classroom and on the football field.
Yeah, and I'm not going to ask you about this. I've written about it, but your staff, you've got some things that need to be addressed there. Contractually, a lot of guys are down to the last year, and the coaching staff. We've seen other Big 12 schools, most recently West Virginia, that have fortified their football program with addressing the staff and salaries and so forth, and that's something just like you said there that I think you've got a new group of leadership coming in. And I was standing down on that end, kind of the east end of the south sideline Saturday when you kind of were ushered down there to say hello to Dr. Schrum and her husband Darren, and then Chad Weiberg was down there, and this was something else that Bill Haston wrote about on Sunday as well, and I've written about it. It's there's no doubt President Hargis has done a tremendous job. Mike Holder has the things that have been built and accomplished under his tenure as athletic director, amazing. But I'm excited about the new leadership. I'm excited about Dr. Schrum. I'm excited about Chad Weiberg coming up.
Well, I think everybody is, and as we progress through life, we unfortunately we're only here for a short amount of time, all of us, and then as we move forward, younger people come in and take over, and so with the change at president and the athletic director, it'll be a new approach with us, particularly in football, and we have to make a decision that to make football important. And I have the best staff that I've had here in 17 years currently, administratively and coaching. Not even close, from top to bottom. A number of them have been with me a long time, where there is a definite plus with consistency. The other ones that have come in here have adjusted. And when you work with approximately 75 people, administratively, coach-wise, recruiting office, medical, equipment, strength conditioning, video, all the different areas, the consistency of working together and understanding everybody's responsibility is a plus. So we have to make a commitment that we want those guys here. And in our profession, that works off contracts. You give them contracts. You tell them you like the job they've done, you want them to stay here. Otherwise, people are going to come and take your staff. It's real simple. And it's not just coaches, it's administratively. So there has to be a long-term commitment made to football. And if we do that, then this thing rolls and continues on for a long, long time. But you can't tiptoe around in football, period. You're seeing schools that are making commitments to football programs that have maybe not even crossed the 500 win-loss mark yet, much less an organization like this that's won at a huge level and top 10 in the country in the last decade. So I firmly believe it'll happen. But if we want to keep the people here, we want to make the thing run, we want to recruit, we make a commitment, we go on down the road with it, and we play it out. And it's been played out here for 17 years, and so far it's worked out pretty good.
All right, just two more things. These are both from listeners. The first one wanted to ask about Gunner. I know you've been asked about him a lot. I've been a close observer in practice, and in fact, I told Rich Thompson, Peyton Thompson's dad, outside the stadium Saturday, I said, "Man, your kid has really improved this spring." And I said, he and Gunner have kind of, because they're the guys down on the bottom end of that quarterback depth chart, and they're the youngest. They've kind of bonded, and I've kind of enjoyed watching that. But the listener wanted to know, well, does Coach Gundy go over there and does he coddle his kid or anything? And I'm like, it's just the opposite. You would know, because Gunner is just, and that's the other thing about Gunner. I'll let you tell this. This is not an entitled kid. He came in here, I think, knowing what the situation was, and he's handled it the way you would want a young man to handle that situation.
Well, I haven't said one word to Gunner in practice, 15 practices. I walked by Gunner during the spring game, and he came off the play sideline, and I wanted to know what a play was. I said, "What play was that?" And he told me, and I walked off. So that's the only communication I've had with him, and for two reasons. One, he's got a good coach. Tim Rattay can coach. I don't need to coach Gunner. Now, if I'm sitting around the house and he's home for some reason and wants to know about a certain play we have or a read or whatever, well, sure. I mean, I'll say this or that or whatever. But my total time of coaching him since he started here at OSU has been probably less than 5 minutes. Now, my time before that, has been, 2,000 days probably. But the point being is that he started at the bottom. That's where we put him. And he has to work his way up. And he, like most quarterbacks that come in this system, he's learning how to communicate the terminology. He's learning his base reads. He's learning to take care of the football, all the things you have to do to play quarterback here, all moving fast at once. And he's learning that. So he does make athletic plays in practice. I mean, you've been out there and you've seen him do things athletically. That's a good thing. But he's got some time involved here in learning this. So it just depends on the time and effort he wants to put into it. I can't do it for him. Mama can't do it for him. He's got to figure out he wants to do it on his own. But I will say this for him. He's in a tough situation. It's not easy being the coach's kid. And so it's a definite adjustment for him from the standpoint that, sometimes players come back to block him after practice. If I've been on him and I run him a lot, they're all cussing the head coach. He's got to hear that. He's got to listen to that, and then he's got to not say anything to me and go on down the road, because that's just what they do to coaches when they get mad at him. He has to deal with that stuff. Now, I don't know if that's happened or not. I'm going to guess that it probably has, but we don't have those conversations, and we're not going to. And then, secondly, he also has to worry about people thinking he's getting special treatment because I'm the coach. And as this progresses through, people will learn that's not true. But then thirdly, if he improves and gets better and starts getting better and he deserves to get reps, he's going to get reps. So he's not going to be coddled, but he's also not going to be punished based on his situation. Gunner came here because he loves Oklahoma State. That's why he came here. I first tried to get him to not come to school here. And then he finally said, why can I not go to school at the school I love just because you're the head coach? And I said, you know what? You do whatever you want to do. So it's worked out good to this point. It's gotten better as the semester's gone on. And from this point moving forward, I'm hoping that'll just become custom. Everybody will just be used to it, and then we'll just go on down the road.
Yeah, and been there, done that. I'm glad I'm not the only parent that tried to discourage their kid from going where they wanted to go to school. But at the end, when they say, yeah, with Zach, it was Dallas and SMU's too far. I'm like, okay, it's over. I know where he's going. So, hey, the last question also from a caller. What do you think of the new overtime rule? Where you have to go for two now on the second overtime sequence, and then after that, it becomes a 2-point shootout. And I don't want to influence you, but I hate that damn rule. That's not football.
Well, what they're trying to do is they're trying to shorten the game, and they're trying to save the health of the players. That's why they're making these rules, okay? It's no different than I was watching the Dodgers play the Padres the other day, and they went into extra innings. They started a runner at second base.
Second base, yeah.
And the traditionalists like you and me, it's hard to see that. But why are they doing it? Because they're already having issues with people coming to pro baseball games or watching them on TV because they're 4 hours long. Well, they shortened the game by doing that. And I watched that game the other day, and I noticed it changed it completely. And they accomplished what they wanted. For us, this will accomplish fewer plays, shorter game, and player safety. And that's what they're trying to get. See, there's still people that think college football games last too long simply because they implemented the review process. So the people that pay the bills, which is your television, they want shorter games. People live in a world of technology and phones. We want instant answers and new things fast. So the only issue I have with it, Robert, if they were going to do it, why didn't you just do it in the first overtime? Why don't you just have to go two right off the bat?
You know what? I mean, honestly, to break it up, I'd rather do that because here's what I don't like about the rule. I don't mind going for two. As much as after the second one, you're just going to line up every time at the 3-yard line. You know what? You know, if you take a spread team and a team that's a power team and they're tied, when you go to overtime, it's over. The power team's got the advantage. Spread teams, you know this, when you get inside the red zone and the score zone, the spread's not as effective in offense. So I don't like the fact that it leans on one aspect of football over the other because that's not fair to teams that have different type of systems.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So to me, let's just play it normal, and then you have to go for two in the first overtime. Both teams do, and then there's a real high percentage you're going to eliminate the second overtime ever showing back up.
Yeah, I would prefer that. So,
but anyway,
good idea.
The only whoever listens to me, right? I said 6 years ago that they needed an 18 playoff for the instead of 4, and we still haven't got it accomplished. So.
Well, but hey, at least the word was last weekend they're talking about it.
Yes, they are, and they're eventually going to go to it to keep fan interest because whether we like this or not, this is all generated on television. And television revenue and keeping fan interest. And if there's more teams that are allowed in, fan interest goes up. More people watch more games. We sell more advertisement. We pay more bills. ADs like it. Presidents like it. Presidents, television companies like it. Everybody's happy. You can say whether you like it or not. That's just the way it is.
Hey, I appreciate it. And, again, I know you've been watching a lot of baseball, too. Good luck to Gage and the Pioneers. They've been playing pretty good. When do they play again?
They play, let's see, today's Wednesday. I know they play tomorrow. They play UConn, and then Friday they catch Kingfisher. So get a couple more games before they start. They host regionals, so they get to host a regional, and then they'll go from there. So, but everybody listen. All the listeners need to buy a season ticket. You're going to get your money's worth this year. So everybody needs to get out there and buy their season tickets and get back. I feel really good about the COVID issues going away for the most part, and we should get a little bit better each month with vaccination possibilities. So it's going to be close to normal. So need to get our tickets and get out there and get going.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you this, but when I went and did the baseball for Rex Holt when he was at wrestling, we were in Lubbock. They had just opened up in Texas, and Friday and Saturday night in Lubbock, it was full house, no mask. I turned to Chief and said, hey, this is what it used to be in 2019. It's kind of good to see this again.
Yes, that's the direction it's going. People are ready. Everybody's ready. So, anyway.
All right. Hey, Mike.
All right.
Thanks.
See you
all
guys.
right. Oklahoma State head coach Mike Gundy.